6. So our only item on our agenda today is gym floor, at least at this point. I won't try to share the renderings because my coverage is a little shaky here. Maybe Dan or Dave can, or
Yeah, Bob, you want to email them to me and I can show them? I don't know what Dan's internet is, but mine's pretty good.
well, you are the one who emailed them to me, Dave. So you should have them.
Yep, I have them. I can pop them up. Okay, I didn't know if you had
I don't have any changes to that. So.
Done any?
I can share mine real.
I mean, created a new one or. All right, let me pull them up. They are on the board docs for folks. All right. Okay, everyone should be seeing my screen one. So here is the two different renderings, the difference being the way the lines are through the S.
Can you show the other one there quick again?
Yep, sure can. Is my fan coming through on your audio?
Yeah, it is a little bit.
All right, I'll mute up here.
Are the question on these are so yellow's volleyball, is it gray that is the side to side basketball? Is that gray or black? I can't quite tell.
That's a gray.
Gray, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that I like that better than the red.
I agree.
Yeah, it's based on the last time we chatted, I asked Todd to soften up those lines a little bit because we need them for our physical education stations, but we got the point that we wanted to try to tone them down if we could.
Yeah, no, I think it looks better this way. How wide is the purple sidelines? How wide are they?
I want to say they're 4 feet wide on the bleacher sides, and then the ends, they're probably closer to 6 feet. It's just taking up the full space between the wall and the out of bounds line.
Now, one of the questions that came up there briefly the other day, and I was, I mean, where does one find what the regulations are for court lines?
You're talking about size for a court, or you're talking about like this 4 foot and the 6 foot parts?
No, I guess I'm talking about neither. I'm talking about so like right, because all that, I mean, that would just the dimensions, the size of the lane, the 3-point line, all that is defined. I guess I was thinking about circles, right? So like I know that I've noticed on more and more college courts having, so we don't use those circles at the free throw lines, but I assume they still have to be there. That's correct?
That is usually my understanding. I can go on to New York State. This is a kind of a copying what's usually on there, but New York State would have their exact stuff. Are you thinking of the dotted line that you would like to take off?
Well, I've noticed like college courts don't have it anymore because nobody uses that circle anymore. So they keep the one on the outside, right? The one that would encircle the free throw shooter, the half circle, but then the one that goes down in the lane. I've just happened to notice here recently when I was paying attention that most college courts don't have it. Maybe we have to have it. I don't know. We used to use it, right? It used to be jump balls. You do jump balls, but now we don't. We only do the jump ball to start the game and no jump balls after that. And that's supposedly going to go away here sometime in the next few years. So, but maybe it has to be there. I don't know.
Okay.
Are the sidelines estimated to be about the distance from the floor to, will there be any non-purple by the players' feet when they're sitting on the bench? Or will that be purple right to about the bleachers?
You are very close to where the bleachers are pulling out, yes.
Yep. And then from my question the other night, we decided not to spend too much time on it the other night, but I just noticed there's some courts that have that white outline within it, and then there's some courts that don't. They would just have, so the best I can tell from like Saratoga High School's court, they have a blue border, and that serves as the definition of their court, right? Because that white line the depth doesn't matter. That line has no depth, right? You're either inbounds or out of bounds, and there's no depth to that white line.
You step on that white line and you're out of bounds, yes.
Yeah, that's actually not true. If you're playing and you're in bounds and you step on the white line, you're out of bounds. If you're inbounding the ball and you step on the white line, you're not out of bounds until, or it's not a violation until you cross into the court, right? That's got no depth to it, that line. And so I didn't know if that was why, or if New York State said we had to have that. I just noticed that Saratoga doesn't, and I assume we don't actually need it because that line doesn't have depth.
That line has been a copy kind of what you guys have. If you would like to take it off and just make the purple as you're out of bounds.
I think that's my preference. I think that's my preference. Not a hill to die on. I'm mostly curious. It always looks a little fun to me to have a court inside the court, but I wasn't certain. I noticed most college courts do have that, and so I wasn't. That's why I wondered, like, who tells us what we need as far as that type of
You need them for those like
Maybe
kind
no
of
one does.
hash lines there.
What's that, Dan?
For the hash lines, kind of like the,
No, just so like on the sideline and on the baselines, there's a little white line and then there's the
Right.
purple. So not the hashes coming in, but just the border.
okay, just the border.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right, so a common misperception is if you're inbounding the ball and your toe goes onto that white line, that's a violation. But it's actually, you have to cross into the wood, right? Into the yellowish wood color here. Or tan color or whatever it is. That there's no thickness to the sideline. The sideline is just merely a border, but there's no thickness to it. If that makes sense. That's by the rules of the game. Now, I don't know whether New York State has some other criteria that you have to have that line, but I'm guessing they don't. Or I don't know if I can pull it up. I probably can pull it up, but I'm not sure I can share it. But I had just taken a picture of actually I probably can here show you Saratoga. I might be able to try to share mine if anybody wanted to see that. I guess if you unshare, Dave, and I'll try to share. Can you see that?
Yep.
Right, so that blue line, I mean, the red line is something different. But then that blue line, that's their baseline, right? And so the blue line goes from blue to wood.
Correct.
I can't really tell on the sideline.
The only thing that they've left off there, Bob, is that when you're in the key, they've left that like inch space so you can see where the out of bounds line is.
Right, yep.
Yep.
Which makes sense, right? Yeah, so it's a little subtle down there though, but I guess it's all you need, right? It's just that. I feel like I might, like for a ref, but I guess you'll see it, right? If a foot's over that clear line, but yeah, that's good. That's a good point. That you wouldn't want it to be blue everywhere there, then it'd be way too much of a judgment call. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we might be right at the decimal point here. I'm not sure this matters. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Dan?
No, I either way, I think would work with me. I think it would look nice without the white, but it wouldn't be that bad. I mean, that's kind of what we have now. So I don't have a strong opinion either way, but if I had to land, I guess I'd just say take them off. So. And Bob, do you have an opinion on like the center circle at all? Which one?
No, I think there was one that people tended to like a little bit more. I feel like that came out the other night. I don't really remember. One's dashed, one's not. Oh, yeah, one has outlining around it.
Yeah.
One's just black. Yeah, what are your thoughts? I'm fine either way. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the one that wasn't as thick, but
Yep. No, I'm good with that. I had to look a few times to find it. So.
So the big difference is the black line of your center court there. It's outlined with a basically no paint, just to emphasize that circle, versus the black and the purple being right next to each other.
Right.
What's the difference?
I mean, it's become such an unimportant part of the game, the circles, that it doesn't matter one way or the other. So you're thinking the one that's just the black, right, Dan? Not the black and not the black that's outlined by wood.
Let's see here. Let me just see if I can share it. Trying to see if there's a different. Share this. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
I guess I was thinking this one, which I think is the one that is outlined by
wood. Yep. Oh, that's good.
And that's it.
Yep.
So I was thinking this one.
Yep. No, I'm like 51-49 with you. I mean, it's 6-1 half dozen. It's actually a little bit more than 6-1, and a little bit less than half dozen. So I'm with you. I'm good. I mean, I'm fine either way, but yeah, I agree.
And I do think if we can move that dotted, the other half circle, if we can remove that, like if it doesn't have to be there, I think that would look nicer, just the kind of full color down there instead of the paint, if you will. Yeah, I think everything else looks pretty good.
So we also have the discussion on the pads, right? The pads and the wall colors.
Yep. So here I can. I've got those up, so. This is the gray one. Let's see if I can get some stuff out. There's beige.
So I'm going to share my screen here for a sec.
Yep.
Actually, does anybody know the, what is it, RGB? Is that what we call it? It's RGB, not RBG, right?
Yeah.
RGB?
Yeah.
Does anybody know the RGB for the gray pads?
I don't think that comes with what Dr. Glover has. We would have to try to do a match type of a thing. But I don't think that's how they color code that, if I'm correct. Is that correct, Dr. Glover?
Yeah, no, they have their own, they don't actually have any color on it at all for, like.
Like a gray, they have like
Like
a
the
beige and a
Pantone
gray.
would be or any of that, yeah, no.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna share here real quick, just, and I think, I'm really confident about, most of these colors. I'm not really confident about the one that's actually important here. So there is rough, now this is, roughly our purple and our gold. And this is just, I put it this way because I wanted to be able to see these walls with the court, right? Because when you look at them, obviously, I'm a little Grandma Moses-ish here in my 2 dimensions, but I don't know, that gray may actually be darker than this color, right? So the
I
idea
think
could be,
I think I found something for it. Let's see. Like 183, 177, 166. I don't know if this is right. I'm just Googling it.
183, 177, 166, okay.
Yeah.
Because there's on the, like when I look at it here, I feel like the wall and the, right, so we've got, if we're going off the end of the baseline, we go from baseline to with the pads, gray pads, the, what is it? Something white, appropriate white or something. I forget what they called it, right? There was some catchy name for that, Sherwin-Williams white. And then the idea of having a band up around the top that was a little bit darker. So those are the colors that they had suggested. My gray may be wrong. And I can plug those numbers in a minute to see. But so I was just trying to see, like, is that a look that we like? I mean, the white is slightly more cream colored, I guess, than I thought it was when I first looked at it. When I looked at what David sent us, it appeared to me to be a little bit more white than sort of that cream. But I guess I have a question on colors, Todd. So when I was looking on the Sherwin-Williams site to get these RGBs, they're talking about, is it like luminance, or there's some number, like this is 93% something, that I think must be an indication of like how light it is.
It very well could be. I can check on that. What's your thoughts? Where are you going with the white?
I guess I was just trying to get, so good question. I was trying to make sure that more so, I guess I was looking at other colors that I thought might be pleasing. Because I guess I feel like it was just a touch like towards yellow, right? There's a tiny bit of yellow in this that to my eye anyway, which maybe isn't actually there. And so I was trying to get away from that a little bit, but I was trying to keep track of the luminance or the lightness. I didn't even know what that number meant, but I assumed it meant like the higher that number is, the brighter your space will be, right? I mean, I think we want something that's not going to darken our space. We have awesome lighting there now, but
I believe, I don't have the paper up there, but I believe when Maria put these colors together, that Sherwin-Williams paper white, I believe is the same white that's in the locker rooms. So if you remember how bright the locker rooms were.
Very bright.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't ring a bell. Whatever Dan just shared, can you read on there, or Dave shared, whatever's on the one with the gray pads, there's a.
So that's snowbound on the gray. The middle section is snowbound.
Snowbound. That sounds pretty white.
Paper white is with the beige.
With the beige,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, snowbound seems like it ought to be a pretty darn light color.
Yeah.
So,
So there's a difference with, just to make sure you guys understand the stripe at the top is where, if you look at those two photos at the bottom of the sheet there, there's the stripe of white that's up in the ceiling.
Yeah,
So essentially the white would start underneath the steel. Whichever white we wanted to look at would start underneath the steel. The top would be a little bit darker with that gray. So you're on the gray scheme, I think.
Yep.
So with the gray, it would darken that up. Maria's idea was that would draw less of your attention up into the ceiling and keep your eyes down lower.
yep,
The only thing she thought about the gray was it's a little colder feel to the gym. It's not as warm of a feel.
yep. I don't know, there's a lot of heat coming off that court, but no, I agree. I mean, that was my, that I acknowledge that sentiment. Beige is just such a blah color, but, yeah, no, and that's why I tried to put it together with the court, right? Because I feel like it was, and obviously this is not, there's gonna be, you won't see it on the sides, right? I mean, where I have these lines on the sides, you won't see them there because there's gonna be bleachers there. And now so for that same color that Maria has up in the trusses, there will be that same color down around at about the same level as the top of the mats. Is that correct? I mean, it will, the top of that line will be about the same as the top of the mats and go around the gym. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much where you have your brown right now.
Yep.
That would just be gray. Yep.
Right. Yep.
It would align with the top of the doorway to go out to the vestibule. I believe it does, or very
Right.
close to does, something like
I mean, I'm
that.
assuming that some of that's just for, you want it darker down there for fingerprints and getting dirty, and it's just easier to keep a little bit cleaner.
Can be, yes. It can be taken off, and you can have the wall white all the way down if you'd like that too.
Right. I mean, I would just, with the gym, yeah, I would think it would be harder to keep. I mean, to me, it would make sense to have something, in that ballpark down low, especially because you're gonna have enough big wall that's gonna give off enough light, I would think that. So again, I'm not sure my grays are the grays. But I guess that those two, this one, was my preference.
The gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at it here, just.
Yeah. I mean, I lean towards the gray too, but I do worry about the light, and if with the snowbound, I mean, and the new lights, it does seem like it would make it.
You're definitely going to be brighter in there, Dan,
Yeah.
with the new lights, and the floor is going to lighten up once it's sanded.
Right.
Yeah.
And your bleachers are going to be basically like a white, clear pine maple.
Okay.
They're not going to be as dark as what they are either. So you're going to have a lot of light stuff happening in there.
That's good to know. I appreciate that.
The other piece, I guess, is that if we discussed our intention, we know the murals are staying. That we discussed our intentions with banners.
Banners, from my point, you guys are taken down, and if you put them back up, that's up to you.
I guess I just asked from the perspective of, I mean, you look at this and it's like, these are fairly white walls, right? Like, it seems like you want something on them. And, but that look changes a lot when you have banners, or obviously we have the murals that we're preserving the murals. So.
Yeah, and Bob, for all the banners, we've taken them down currently just because of the construction work. The plan is to have them back up. We've only flirted with the conversation about, replacing and updating them because some of them are in pretty rough shape. But the plan is all those banners go back up. How we put those all back up, what they look like is, how we decide to arrange them. But it's, And I think that, and I had a conversation with somebody about, even if you have that gray as a background, the banners will pop out with the school colors with that gray.
Right. Right.
And either one of these whites is going to make that wall much brighter than what it is right now.
Almost like a green.
You said either one of them is.
Yes, either one of those whites should brighten up this quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just your choice of which one you prefer over the other one.
Yeah. Any major objections to this pattern, these colors?
I think they look good. But...
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I mean, I think that there's going to be, I have a long-standing vocal, not sure what the right word is, but with purple. But mostly that's because, we have so many darn different purples. And I think that, one of the nice things about the banners is they've been pretty true to our colors. And I assume the floor can as well, Todd, right? I mean, the floor can be, we can hone that right into our purple and our gold.
We will be turning those, your colors over to the flooring guy to have that matched. I would assume there should be no problem. It's paint.
Right.
The only thing that might slightly change them is as you look at the old floor, the clear finish somehow changed that. What I keep being told is purple and on your keys and the white lines and all that stuff. It changed, but that was that I'm assuming is over how many every years that this floor has been down.
Yeah, it was 87 when that floor was done. So, and no, they did start out as purple, or the intention certainly was that they were purple. And we'd always had black lines, but they went to those white lines because they went to the colored key. But yeah, no, it's kind of some interesting shades now. So, no, it's gonna look phenomenal. I'm excited. And this will be our last sanding on it, right? We for a while we weren't sure whether we get this sanding, but this will be our last sanding on it.
That is my understanding from having a floor guy look at this back several years ago.
Yep.
You're going to start hitting fasteners and stuff like that soon at sanding.
Yep.
This is probably the last one.
We can redo the floor to this one when we put in our new gym in 15 years.
So I'm going to mark that down. Make sure we hit 15 years.
Yeah.
One more color, and that's the bleachers. It's not the bleachers, but it's that side covering.
Oh yeah.
I emailed you the pictures before. I just found it, so I'm gonna pull it up.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
And make life a little easier. And it was a better picture than what I had. So this is literally the sheet that's there. I mean, that's black. And Todd, if I'm correct here, this is the background color to it, and we could put a logo on it or not put a logo on it.
So I have a couple questions. My first is, we're 100% guaranteed that a kid can't get underneath these bleachers if we have this in place?
I don't know that I can say that this is 100% guarantee, but I think the idea is to keep that out of there and keep the thought of going underneath there. Yes.
Well, my worry would just be that when somebody's closing them, right now, you get a bit of a view. Or you can go peek in there first. If you have that on there, you'd want it to be fairly darn secure because it'd be hard to tell if there was somebody down. I mean, I'm sure that lawyers have thought about all these possibilities. So, the other piece would be, so when the bleachers are not extended, there's going to be some sort of end board there that they'll kind of hide behind like our current ones have. Is that correct?
I don't know that there's going to be an end board because on these bleachers, there will be guardrails, I guess, sticking out. When they're folded back up that you do not have on them now. I think when the bleachers get to be about 30 inches, they start having those on them. So anything above 30 inches, you'll have that railing coming up the side. When they are fully extended, that railing will be straight up. When they get pushed back into the wall, that railing is at a slight angle out.
Yep.
Not perfectly straight up and down. So that will be out there. I do not believe that with that piece there is a end closure piece, but you're not. So I do not believe that there's a plywood end like you kind of have right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are the same colors as like the pads would be? Whereas that's different?
That is different.
Okay.
So yeah, they're two different manufacturers. The colors are slightly like the gold is
Yeah.
not the same gold in the wall pads. What
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
on the bleacher pad on the
So I was
bleacher.
gonna say the gray, I
vinyl.
think looked darker, but
Yeah, because this gold is spot on our gold that when we look at it, this is the gold. And the other manufacturer for the wall pads, it was way too yellow.
yeah.
But in the picture, it looks a little yellower too, but I have the real one in my hand and it's right on to where our gold is. That's too grapey for Bob.
It is too grapey.
So it is a different color gray. It's not I don't think it's as dark as the matte.
Yeah.
Actually, hold on, I have them right here. I can compare the real ones.
Yeah.
The gray for the wall pads is actually a little bluer, if I can describe it that way.
Okay.
Than the gray on the side. They're very different. In fact, I wouldn't say go with the gray on the side at all. I would say either the gold or the white.
I mean, my first thought that I'm not married to, and I do definitely sometimes marry my thoughts, but I'm not married to this one, is that it's not to go with something on the side. It's just vinyl, even if it's classic vinyl. I feel like it could take away from the feel. And if we aren't 100% sure that, if it isn't necessarily, if it's hopefully keeping kids out, but not necessarily. I mean, I know that that's like, first grade, second grade, that's like where we all wanted to go, right? So I wouldn't want to be, I feel like it could be a hazard, but I guess just thinking about the aesthetics of it. I'm not married to that because I haven't seen it in place or seen it. I've never taken note of it somewhere. So I'm not married to that thought, but it's my thought.
Yeah. Having a first and third grader who would probably love to play under there. I don't know. I am having a hard time wrapping my head around what it would look like, kind of on the side. But So, whether it's there or not, I'm sure I've been places where it's been and just don't notice it. And so, um, I think it'd be different just because I've been in that gym a number of times, but
Well, it's an add-on type piece, right? If I'm correct, Todd, that's there, and I see you shaking your head. So there's no need to add it on now. It is something we could do later, and there are other materials that are out there that could probably be done with that aren't as opaque. Kind of, I'm thinking of like a black net or something of that nature that we could custom to that side if we decided we wanted something on the side. You can still see through enough to see if there's a shape underneath or someone underneath it, but still enough to keep people out or at least act as a deterrent. So it's not anything to do. It's just something that's offered with the bleachers. It's an opportunity for protection on the side. And if we're not comfortable with it or not 100% on it or want to see and maybe do it later, then that's still at our discretion.
I actually like the idea of a net. Yeah, I think that would make more sense to me, would be some sort of netting that, like you say, you can get the best of both worlds. Because it makes, I'm not at all saying we want people to be able to get in there or that we don't want people throwing stuff in there. I don't think they tend to, but I feel like a net would give you the best of both worlds.
Can I share a screen with you guys just to give you a quick glance of what it would look like?
Yep.
All you, Ted.
What am I sharing? Okay, so here you go. This is kind of an end panel on the bleachers to give you an idea.
I like their ceiling.
It is striking.
So you can take that on and off. I think for the most part, it's fairly secure being in place.
Yep.
But just to give you understanding of what others have done.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's something we can do at some point. That's good too. Now, what will our railings on the side look like? Do you have any?
I believe what you see here in these photos are what your railings are going to look like.
Yep.
So they stand more up and straight up and down when they're like fully extended, but when it pushes back in, they kind of lean out just slightly.
Yeah, I feel like I've like vaguely taken note of that.
So yeah, I think what in talking with Chris, the rep, I think it's about a foot past your end of your wood.
Yep.
Will be all that metal railing would be how it fits in there.
Yep.
It needs about a foot space. So, yep.
Perfect. Yeah, my sense pass on that for now, but I'm not ready to that.
it looks. I think of like the wall mat is what I was thinking of before, so that looks a lot better than that, and it does look pretty secure. I might think if we were gonna put a logo on it or something, that could look nice.
I guess I would like something a little bit more elasticy that wasn't so. To me, it looks a little sloppy. At least this one does, right? And I feel like the net. I like the net idea because then the net.
Yeah. I think
a net that was a little bit elastic, then it would.
No, I think that would be good too, because it is more of a security thing than anything else.
I just feel like if at some point it came loose or somebody could be in there and you would have less of a way to know it than not even having it there.
Yep.
It's kind of sagging up there in the top. I feel like it's a little nice new gym floor, new bleachers, and then you have some sagging vinyl. Doesn't match the aesthetic.
Now I think a net would be. Thanks for sharing that though.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is there anything else that we need to, discuss today?
Todd, do you have everything you need?
I want to run back over this just to make sure. So if everybody's got just a minute or two here.
Absolutely.
So we are looking at for the floor layout, taking the white out of bounds line all the way around out and having the purple run right up to the edge. There are 4 white lines that I will turn purple on that come off the out of bounds white line that are perpendicular. If you see them in what
Yep.
you might have in front of you.
Here, let me just share it just so we can have it.
Yep.
These, right?
Yes, right where you have your cursor. So
Yep.
I'll turn those to be purple.
Yep.
You still want the black 3-point line with the black around the key.
Yep.
Is correct.
Yep.
I think so. Yep.
Do you want that space between the black line and the purple all the way around the key? I just want all these details to make sure that you understand. So just like on this option, the S, the black circles have the wood, basically 1-inch line around there to emphasize that line.
Yep.
Do that same thing at the key purple.
So like down here, or the whole.
You're talking on the sides of the lane
Right.
or on the baseline?
I'm talking about the sides of the lane. We'll do it at the baseline to separate the 2 purples. Sides of the lane between the purple and the black, and at the foul line. Same thing. We'll have that same spacing between the black and the purple of the 1 inch.
Good question. I don't know. I guess I don't necessarily think we need to, but I'm not.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm not-
there. I don't know, for whatever reason there. I think it's fine without the space.
Okay.
Right, because I don't think the width of that line has meaning there. I think it right. It's just you're either in the lane or not in the lane.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Keep the gray for the 2 basketball courts going perpendicular, and keep the gold for the 2 volleyball courts going perpendicular.
So I like that. That's my favorite. My only question is there ever, so I would say definitely with the gold. My only question with the gray is it distinguishable enough that a player or official won't be confused by the black or the gray in a split second in the game? I mean, I hope you say it's fine because I like it, but
the gray in my mind on the out of bounds, just at the end courts, would stop at the corner of the official basketball court, and the out of bound purple would be kind of that out of bound gray. You wouldn't have a gray line running along there. So just to clarify that.
yep, no, that makes perfect sense.
And then in the middle of the court, I wouldn't think that gray would interfere with the black.
Okay, perfect. That's what I wanted to hear. Just, I mean, that midline for over and back is a relevant line to play. And so that was my I mean, it's just hard for me to tell here. I like it. I mean, I like that. I like it a lot better than the red. I felt like the red was just a little noisy.
And then my thoughts on these were the red, or where the gray or the gold go through the purple, you would have your 1-inch wood showing just to highlight that, or you want the purple right up to the gray and right up to the gold?
Good question.
That's a good one.
So I think I think the purple's going to have to interrupt the gold for a couple inches anyway, right? So that it's, I'm kind of changing the subject, but I think I'll get back to your question. So, you know what I mean? That without that white there, that border is going to have to be defined by purple all the way around. And so there's going to have to be a break in that yellow, which I think is fine. We're talking about gym class volleyball, right? So,
it is only I want to say the basketball white line was going to be 2 inches. I think I have to go back to a picture here. The volleyball line might be the same 2 inches.
I think that historically they have been the same. And I think you're right, 2.5 maybe. I mean, I bet they're 2.5 or 3, but maybe 2.
We could run a purple right through, just like the white line is run right through it.
I mean, I almost think we'd have to, just because that would be, at some point somebody's foot's gonna go down there and it's gonna be really close to whether it's in or out. And I think that we'd want that basketball court defined clearly. And I think that, whatever the thickness you go with, 2 or 3 inches or whatever, of not having that yellow is not gonna, I don't think, drastically change. Not that I wouldn't have argued about it when I was in 8th grade.
And then I'm thinking that you want to have a little bit of a separation between the gray and the gold once you get past that initial 2 inches of the purple. As the gray and the gold are perpendicular to the out of bounds line, you probably want a separation between the purple and the gray, not running the purple right up to the gray, not running the purple right up to the gold.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on it. Is that for aesthetics or for usefulness of the line?
I think it's more for usefulness of the line, but I think with the gold and the purple, you won't notice it as much. My only worry would be the gray and the purple.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't.
The gray is probably more for gym class though, so I don't know how important that is.
It's for gym class and youth basketball. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you think, Dan. I mean, I'm happy with
No, I
whatever you think on
I
that
think,
side.
yeah, what you said works. That's good.
So gold, they can butt up to each other. A little bit of definition at the gray line, you're thinking? I'm
fine with any of the above.
Yes. I'll say yes.
Okay, let's see what else is there here. Take out the dashed line if possible. Take out the dashed part of the circle at the foul line. I will verify. Make sure that's not a no-no.
I think I mentioned this before in a meeting, Todd. A guy that I went to college with has a company. He actually is the guy who makes the mountains turn blue on Coors Light cans. And I've always wondered if if there would be a way to have lines appear and disappear based on something.
The temperature head.
Temperature, pH.
That'd be interesting.
I assume there must be, right? Little infrared light or ultraviolet or something that you could. Would not
Somebody's
be-
probably got something. Yeah. Yeah.
Then like each one of us could pick the court that we like, and you, on a given night you could play with the white lines or the purple lines.
Or the black light.
That's right. Exactly. Todd's gonna get a patent on that this afternoon.
Yeah. You do like the difference between the black running through the S on scheme 1. I think Dan said he liked scheme 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Your center point port.
if everybody else on the board is like, "Oh, I want it thick," I'm not gonna go crazy
Well,
about it. But
it's still going to be a 2-inch center line and a 2-inch circle all the way around. It's just defining that darkness with the purple. It's just giving it a little more definition. That's all.
Right. So I'm clear. So it's the black lines are identical. It's just that there is wood defining the circles and the lines.
Exactly. They would tape that off around there so the purple didn't run into the black and you had
Yep.
more of a definition there.
Yeah. Nope.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we were all on that. That was our preference.
And then the text that was chosen is a Sherman font that I think Syracuse seems to have a hold of. I will check to see if that is the font you want, that the floor guy can do it. If he says he cannot, I will get back to you on that.
and this one almost looks a little bit like Saratoga's. A little bit, maybe just the S. I don't know. And that actually looks pretty good. So
You like the skinniness of the letters, kind of, is what you're going by, versus the collegiate type of letter that like the S in the middle.
yeah, I mean, I like to see the other ones just to be sure, but I don't, seeing it now, I think it looks a little different than I had it in my head before. So.
So I can share here for a sec. We can look back at that Saratoga one.
Oh yeah, here, I'll stop.
So yeah, that is a similar look here, right? And I hadn't taken as much note of that font as I was just starting to look at it. So here's I don't know who that is. It looks like the Pioneers. Is that like Grinnell or something? So I guess I think it looks pretty good. I don't necessarily think of it as a Salem font, but I'm not sure
That we have one.
that we have one.
So I will push forward with what's on scheme. Both of these schemes. Scheme 1, I think, is the one we were looking at. But yeah, so I will push forward with that font. I will make sure that they can do that. If the flooring contractor comes back with a different thought, I can share that with you.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
If you do like the Saratoga one, we can always inquire about that. I'm not sure what that font is, to tell you the truth, but all these flooring court guys, I'm sure have an idea what that is.
Yeah, it just looked a little. I think the only thing, it looks a little smoother. Like some of these are kind of pointed and stuff, but It may just
Yeah.
because of the distance. So
I think it is a slightly different than the Sherman that Syracuse uses. So I think it's
So the one that you showed us is the Sherman that Syracuse uses?
we tried to copy stuff off of Syracuse's thing, yes. So it's not something you can get to. You kind of gotta, the way I'm understanding, you might have to know somebody that goes to Syracuse that can pull that font off their computers.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to ask the flooring guy and see if he understands and can provide that, because we kind of created this based upon getting on Syracuse's site and kind of tracing their font.
Yep. So he'll know whether it's proprietary or whether it's.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
grab it.
I'm hoping so, yes.
Can somebody show that again? I just want to see that again.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it is quite similar. I think I kind of like the Sherman a little bit better than the Saratoga one. Just the Saratoga one harkens a little bit to Greenwich has always used a bit of a different font than other schools, right? Everybody else used a little more blocky and they've used a little more whatever.
Italics, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. So I like this one, I think a bit more than the Saratoga one.
Yeah, and that's either one of those would be fine. So let's just go with this one because we've got it.
And to be honest, I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to it until we started talking about it. So definitely not a hill to die on for me.
Okay. Then paint scheme wise, my understanding is you're leaning towards the gray scheme, or you are all good with the gray scheme, or am I wrong?
I'm good with the gray scheme.
I am too.
I'm gonna have to ask. Amy's being awful quiet.
I was
I'm in deep thought.
Yeah.
I'm being quiet because I'm not very far away from Dr. Glover and I don't want to bounce our sound off one another. Am I bouncing over in that room because I turned you down? Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was bouncing around the room. So. Are we still having a meeting a week from today, which would be our regularly scheduled date? We've gotten a little off course with different meetings, so I didn't know if that meeting still needs to remain on the calendar.
I think it would be great if we did. Not a hill to die on for me, but I feel like we've kind of moved away from some of the other conversations that were fruitful and productive. So
Okay. It shall remain then.
All right. So
I think you might be muted, Todd.
Dog is barking. Gray scheme and no end cap on the bleachers at this point.
Correct.
yep.
Then that would be going with the gray scheme of paint, gray scheme of wall mats.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dr. Glover, anything else that we might be missing that would be on your mind from all the discussions we've had?
Nope. But I mean, the rest of it, the banners going back up and down. That's how you want to put them back up. We are protecting the murals above the bleachers. that are there. So the general's being protected and the mural at the east end of the gymnasium is being protected. There, that takes care of walls, takes care of floors. Bleachers, we got the final measurements in, so that's set and done. I think we're good color-wise, and otherwise, the rest of it is already underway.
Will the trusses be painted?
That is part of the idea, is to paint that up there too, yes.
And what color will the trusses be?
They would be the gray that you're choosing for that kind of upward stripe.
And that won't suck up too much light, being that little bit darker. I think they're, what color are they now? Are they white now?
They, I think, are white plus all the dirt that's up there that we've been told by the contractor.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
already gray. Of dust.
Exactly. and I think all of your lights are actually lower than them, so if you're not actually bouncing light off of that, that's part of why Maria was thinking that making that a little bit darker up there would take your eyes off of looking up at the ceiling.
Good. As long, yeah, I'm fine with that, as long as it doesn't suck up light. Because it isn't just today, right? I mean, that gym didn't used to be so dark, right? When that, in 87, when that floor was new and the lights were newer, and it was, you know, over time, it's lose candle power and things get dusty. If we're comfortable that that's not going to suck up light, yeah, I looked at it, but I hadn't really paid attention to color until we were in there the other day. So I think it makes sense to draw eyes away from it. Perfect. Well, sounds like we have, I guess, you'll inquire on the font, and the font in the paint, the font in the lane is the same as the fonts on those end lines.
Yes. Same, just smaller because of the space.
I guess one last thought, just when we thought that there, I'm gonna share here real quick. Just go run back to this Saratoga one for a second. I was thinking we were done, but everybody see that?
Yep.
So I don't know that I like the idea of having that purple go all the way to the wall. I like the idea of it being 4 feet. But I don't know that I like it going all the way to the wall. I don't know that I don't, I just, I envision it more like, or I had envisioned it more like this court is, or this court is.
Just remember that they have more end court space than you guys have.
Yep,
That's what I was
no doubt. Even so, though, how many feet do we have from the baseline to the wall?
I believe it's 6 feet and just a very few inches, but 6 feet essentially, yes.
Yeah, so not very much.
So, and I guess the more purple you put there, the bigger your letters can be, if you really want that name to stand out, just for thoughts.
How many feet do you think this is for Saratoga here?
Well, I bet you're maybe you're around 4 feet.
I'm just going up here to these are all these Atlantic 10, just trying to get a sense of, yeah, that's probably, I'm betting that's about 4 feet there. I mean so these are these Atlantic 10. This is just what I had grabbed this and used it as my, for the start of that quasi rendering that I did. I kind of like these proportions of, I don't know what those proportions are, but now I don't know how that would look with, so, I mean, is it a lot more difficult for somebody to put 4 feet instead of 6 feet? And then what would that be?
I was gonna say, if you wanted it 4 feet all the way around, you can do 4 feet all the way around. That's up to you. more.
I kind of like the look of these that are 4 feet, that are wider on the baseline and narrower on the edge, on the sidelines. That was, over here. Let me look here quick. And I think that's like, that would be, that looks to me, it's a little hard to tell how wide those sidelines are, but
Exactly. From that angle, they got that same bad angle.
yeah. I think that Saratoga one looks to me like it is narrower on the sidelines than it is on the end lines.
It very much could be.
Right, almost looks like, would you call, like these ones up here, would you call these, 1 to 3, 1 to 3, maybe, 1 to 4? Probably 1 to 4, 1 to 3? Bring a ruler to look. That's what catches my eye. No, I don't, I don't know the exact thickness, but I feel like that, having sidelines narrower than end lines, I just think that's the way basketball courts tend to be. I think we might have a Syracuse, there's a Syracuse one. No, that looks like it's a little wider, both look wider, right? That looks like that's the end line is a good 6 feet, if we think about how big the lane is and the sideline, but.
I bet you that the orange is more than 8. Well,
But
I bet you it's more than 6.
I kind of like these Atlantic 10s. So all these Atlantic 10 schools are the same as each other.
I may be able to get some dimensions on what Saratoga is if you want to know. So,
Well, what are your thoughts, Dan? I mean, just looking at these proportions of thick end line to less thick but thick sideline.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think in the rendering, I think it looks okay. And you're also gonna have the bleachers come up against it. You know, I almost feel like it might look, if the bleachers came up, like if you narrowed the sidelines to say 2 feet or something, and your bleachers, you just have like these gaps almost. And I don't know.
I think what the idea with the bleachers were, we were, and Dr. Glover, I believe this is where we were talking, that the bleacher, I believe, is about, without the final, there's a step, an intermediate step as you go up the walkway. That sticks out a little bit further, but the main part of the bleacher where you sit is going to be 5 foot off of your out of bounds, which is not something that you currently have right now. So you have much closer. So
Okay.
to go to your concern, Dan, is you may have a little bit of a space there anyways.
Anyway, so maybe
Even with 4 feet.
yeah. So then maybe we would, thinner would be, I don't know.
And I think when we originally made it 4 feet, it was because we had stuck your generals going down through there. So 4 feet wide is a good thing to be able to read that name. If you wanted to go to 2 feet, I think it's really up to your preference, because you're not sticking lettering over there on that side right now.
Yeah.
Here, I want to grab something quick. Just gonna try to get a sense of relative thickness of these. Looks to me, so just grabbing a piece of scrap wood on the ground and holding it up here, it looks to me like we're about 1 to 2.5 is that proportion. I mean, I think that 4 feet is too much on the side. And I think that having it defined as a court makes sense, and not having it all the way to the wall. I just feel like aesthetically that's going to look like a basketball court.
Yeah, I think hearing about the bleacher, I'd be fine with that if we narrow them up a little bit. Or, well, I guess maybe just on the sides, right?
The other thing to consider is as you're narrowing up the end line and you only have 5 letters versus Saratoga to go all spread yourself all the way across, you're either going to have a lot more, your text is going to get shorter. And that means if you want to spread it all the way across the end line, you're going to have a lot more space between your letters, or you push all the Salem more towards the middle of the end line. Just something to think about that spacing too as you narrow that up.
Right.
Would we, yeah. It may be that it would come into the middle if it was narrowed.
And it could be more like the Denison and the Wildcats was on that previous there.
Right, or even like, right, LaSalle's pulled in here, right, so
Mm-hmm.
that's actually pretty tight. That must be like, yeah, that must be the way they write it, so. Because they didn't even spread it out. I mean, I think
Well, and even like go to your number 6 slide there, Bob. 'Cause that's, I mean, yes, you have 2 different words, but we've got Salem kind of closer.
Pull it together, yeah.
so that's double space. I mean, there's like 2 spaces between, that happens to be in that font, right? But
Right.
there's, that was, I spread that out just a little bit because it looks, I agree that when it's right next together, it looks too tight. But yeah, you're not going to stretch the 5 letters out across the whole width.
So we
Well, that's
can,
why I
we can
threw
put
in-
it together like you had it on that number, the 6th one there. If you want to put Salem closer together like that, and maybe a foot or so between each letter, we can try to lay that out and see how it looks.
Yep.
Yeah, if you can do that without too much trouble, I think that'd be great to look at.
Okay. What else do you have, or does that hit everything that you have?
I think that hits everything. I've thought that a couple times. But wait, no, I think that hits everything.
I think that's good.
Okay. We can work these final changes up one more time to just let you look at the thoughts, and hopefully that'll be it.
Yep. Well, that sounds perfect.
And then the end mats, the end pieces not being on the bleachers, that'll take care of that, and that we'll get the bleacher everything finalized on the bleachers that way. Okay.
Ted, so you know, the full board will be reviewing these recommendations on Thursday.
Okay. Let me see if I can get Vince to push through this quickly. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much for your patience, Todd, and all your help with this.
Yeah, not a problem. We're getting there. This is the process you go through when you go through construction. So
Awesome. Sweet. I guess we'll have our regular meeting next week. So.
Okay,
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you very much, Dave.
you're welcome. Welcome.
Awesome.